Hey guys, today I'm coming at you with a recommendation for an awesome Chinese manga or manhwa. Also, it has a light novel as well, and it's called Dalu. Sorry for the pronunciation, but it's also known as Soul Land, which is the English name for it, and a little bit more commonly known in the States. And it's a very interesting series, and a lot of people really love this one. And the author is very famous for other works that he's completed, and he's a very famous author in China, and so it comes from a really good source. But I will say that it doesn't start off the best. Like, it doesn't have the greatest start ever. It won't grab you by your, I guess, your shirt by just going right into the action. It takes a little bit of time to build up, and it slowly gets better and better. So make sure that you stick around with it and you don't just kind of read a couple chapters and you click off, because it's a very good series, and I very much recommend it because of how it progresses. And it's very much like a shonen in that way, that it's able to build up the story. So I very much recommend it. And by the way, the light novel is actually almost complete, so if you want to go and read that, you can, and I'll put a link down in the description down below, so please go check that out, as that's the official translation, I believe. So I really highly recommend this series, and if you don't want to be spoiled, I would recommend clicking off the video right now, because I'm going to be spoiling the first 3 chapters of this series, just kind of giving a little bit of a preface to what's going on, and then I'm going to give a little bit of some stuff that you can look forward to, as this series is very interesting. But if you don't want to be spoiled, I would recommend clicking off the video right now and going and checking the series out, as it's really good and it's very enjoyable. But anyways guys, let's get right into the spoilers. Now, at the start of the series, we end up seeing that Tang Sung, he ends up stealing the secrets from the Tang sect, which in his original world is the most powerful sect, and so he ends up stealing these secrets, and they kind of come after him for his life. And we end up seeing that he throws himself off of Hell's Peak, which is this giant mountain that he throws himself off of, and this leads to him being reincarnated into a new world. And so it's an interesting little start to the series, maybe a tad cliche at this point because it's just been done so many times, but at the time that this was coming out, it wasn't all that cliche, and so it's a very interesting start to the overall story. But going forward, we end up seeing that Tang Sung, he's reborn into a baby, and he basically has to completely restart his life, and he ends up growing up and slowly getting stronger because he's able to retain his Tang arts, which he kept from his previous world. So he's still very strong, and he still has abilities that he can power up, but he is finding it very hard to level them up in this world, because I guess the difference of the worlds is making it tougher for him to level up the same techniques. So it's a very interesting little start, because he doesn't start off like super mega OP or anything. He's a little stronger than maybe everyone else, but it's not like he's just this lording dude who's able to do everything like a lot of the ones that the main character reincarnates into. Like, you'll see that the main character is just already OP and already super mega strong, but in this one it's a little bit more subtle. Like, he's got some strength and he maybe has a leg up on some other people, but he's not completely overpowering. So it's a very interesting start, and we end up seeing that there is this actual essence spirit that these people in this world have, and these essence spirits basically help them have power, and that's what's very special about them, and it's a cool little start. Like, I think it's a very good start. Now, after this, we end up seeing that Tang Sung, he eventually does go and get his powers tested, where there's this spirit master, and he's basically telling them like how everything is set up, and he ends up saying basically that there are these spirits that everyone has, and some people have these junk spirits while other people have very useful spirits, and there are people who, because of their spirit, transform into a beast-like form, and others who have more of an item type of a thing. It's like more of an object, and so he's testing everyone that is within the town that Tang Sung is in, and so he's just testing everyone, seeing what they have, and he ends up testing their essence level as well by using this type of crystal ball, basically, that measures the level, like tells them like, hey, this is the level they need to start training at, and they need to get more powerful and all that type of stuff. And so we end up seeing that Tang Sung, he ends up actually using his ability, and he's able to summon forth his thing, and it's an item, and what it is this blue river grass, which is pretty much assumed to be this junk spirit, and no one wants it, and they basically are looking over him. But when he actually uses the crystal ball, he's able to show his power and show that he's actually very strong, and he actually is sending it to the maximum power for someone who's just awakened their spirit. And so it's a very interesting little start, and we also see that Tang Sung also has another spirit that's dwelling within him, and so he basically has dual spirits, and one that hasn't been revealed at this point during the first chapter. But it's a cool start, like it's a cool first chapter just to get like right into everything, and you kind of get to understand the world a little bit, and it gives you a little bit of insight as to what's going on. Now, after this, we end up seeing that Tang Sung, he goes and visits his father, who's pretty much assumed to be a very lazy man who doesn't really do much. He's just a blacksmith, and he doesn't have a whole lot of special abilities that are shown. And so we end up seeing that Tang Sung, he ends up showing off his two different spirits, and one is the river grass while the other is a blacksmith hammer. And so his father is very excited by that, and he ends up showing him like how to make metal and how to hammer it and all that type of stuff, and he ends up actually leaving and separating from Tang Sung, and he leaves the same time that Tang Sung goes to the academy because his abilities are so strong. He was able to get into one, and so even with his quote-unquote trash spirit, he was able to go and become a student at a very nice academy, and it was a really cool little start. And seeing how his father probably has maybe some type of backstory that we aren't aware of at this point, like it's a cool little interesting full mystery type of story that's unfolding. And we end up seeing that eventually Tang Sung does arrive at the academy, and when he arrives he ends up meeting a girl there who is very interesting. She ends up kind of being a little bit annoying, I guess, at first, and she's kind of very commanding, kind of really straightforward, nothing absolutely insane about her, nothing like crazy about her character. And that was one of the small things that I did have a little bit of an issue with in this story, is that it does not really develop her character very well until later on. Now, this girl, Xiao Wu, she ends up being a very important character in this series, and she's pretty much the main female lead, and she's a very interesting character later on, but at this point, sadly, it doesn't develop her character too well, so you might not like her initially, but she eventually does become very interesting later on. So I recommend not hating her outright until you fully see her character, and then you'll be like, oh wow, she was really interesting, or wow, I really like her character now. So it's one of those situations where you just kind of have to wait and see for a character to develop, and it happens with a lot of the characters in this series, as you just kind of have to wait for a little bit of time until you get to see a little bit of their past and kind of see of all the stuff that they've gone through. And we end up also seeing that or Tang Sung and Xiao Wu, they end up fighting against these type of noble dudes who are acting all pompous, and this actually leads to Tang Sung being taken by one of the teachers there, and he's actually ends up forming a master-pupil relationship with this teacher, and this teacher basically is going to teach him about how to use his abilities and all that type of stuff going forward. And so it's a really cool story. Like, I really enjoy it, and I don't know if any of this is very interesting to you, and I'm trying to explain it in the best way possible so that it would grab your attention a little bit, but some more stuff you can see going forward that is going to contain a little bit of spoilers, but nothing really heavy. But the power system does develop further, and there's really cool powers and levels and everything that's kind of like in there. It's really enjoyable, and I really also like the whole character setup, like how we get to see the characters and their backstories, and they're all very interesting. And I also like that the main character is not overly OP throughout the series. He's strong, don't get me wrong, and he's definitely very powerful, but he doesn't he doesn't overdo it. He doesn't have the abilities to trounce all of his enemies or anything like that, but we do end up seeing that the other characters are able to take spotlights, and they're able to do very strong, really strong work, and they're able to be very cool and interesting throughout the series, and they're not just thrown off like a lot of other novels do, because they're just very interesting. Like, they're really cool, and I really enjoyed that fact throughout reading this manhwa / light novel, and I hope you guys enjoy that as well. So that's pretty much everything you can really say about the series. Remember that the link to the light novel is in the description down below. I'm sorry I don't have a link to the manhwa, but I do recommend you guys go and check it out. It's very interesting, and it progressively gets built better. It just has to build and build and build until it eventually gets to that conclusion. So I hope you guys will at least give it a little bit of time to build, and maybe around chapter 50, if you really don't like it, then maybe drop it. But I really recommend sticking with it, and the story does get a lot better as it goes forward, especially towards the end. Like, the end is insane. So I do hope you guys stick with it. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much all for me. I'm BiolinkTV, and if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. I appreciate and read all of them. I'm most likely to reply. If you want to, you can go follow me on Twitter. I usually tweet my videos going live and just random stuff here and there. Also, if you want to subscribe, I usually do about 1 to 3 videos on anime news, discussions, or reviews per day. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much all for me.